How's it going, everybody? My name is LuckyBunz, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down the Team Go Rocket Takeover for the end of the month in October. Now with that being said, as always, if you guys do end up enjoying this video, please make sure to smash that like button down below. It helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. But with that being said, let's go and get started. Alright, so the Team Go Rocket Takeover is going to take place from October 26th to October 31st, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. your local time. This event is pretty much going to go alongside the Halloween Part 2 event, and if you guys haven't checked out my full tips and tricks video, I'm going to leave a link to that in the top right corner as well as in the description down below. The bonuses for this event, of course, is going to be the TM Frustration on your Shadow Pokemon. I know a lot of us have been anticipating TM Frustration coming back into the game for a while now, so hopefully you have been saving up your Charge TM so that you can TM away all those Shadow Pokemon that are pretty good. If you guys don't have that many Charge TMs, here are two ways to actually get some pretty quickly. The second win reward from Go Battle League actually does award you Charge TMs on random, and I would say that it's like pretty consistent, so I would recommend doing that. You can also get guaranteed Charge TMs from Mega Raids as well as 3-star raids. If you haven't actually completed the Master Ball Timed Research, this is actually going to be a great way to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, because you got to get 60 raids done, and well, you need Charge TMs, right? So win-win all around, and we do have some pretty good raid bosses in rotation right now. And then on top of that, we're also going to get an increase in Team Go Rocket grunts at Pokestops as well as from balloons. Okay, so we're also going to be getting some new Shadow Pokemon as well as some new Shadow Legendary Pokemon. I'm going to go over the Shadow Legendary Pokemon later on in the video. You guys can timestamp ahead if you want to, but we have some really awesome new Shadow Pokemon that are going to get added into the game. Like, I'm really surprised they added this many bangers. Like, we have literally like meta-breaking Pokemon that are getting added in. So anyways, enough of hyping it up. Let me go through those right now. So we're going to start off with Ghastly and Litwick, both in their Shadow forms. Like, this is pretty crazy to get both of them at once, because I feel like they could have definitely staggered this, like give us Ghastly or Litwick, but no, they gave us both. So you're going to have to decide which one is going to be the better investment. Like, you could invest into either of them if you really wanted to. I'm not saying that's going to be a bad thing, but there is going to be one in particular that is going to be better than the other one, and that is going to be Chandelure according to The Sims. It's actually about 1.5 points higher than Shadow Gengar on the ER scale. When it comes down to Gengar, like non-Shadow, this Pokemon is a glass cannon. Shadow Gengar is going to be even more of a glass cannon, so, you know, like, get all the TDO that you can for these Shadow Pokemon, because it does make a huge difference on their survivability. But yeah, that being said, Chandelure is pretty much going to be the one I recommend going for over Shadow Gengar, just because it's going to be too glassy. But I mean, guys, like, this is a huge upgrade for the Ghost type meta. Like, having a Shadow Chandelure is going to be huge. Our next meta breaking Pokemon is going to be Excadrill, which evolves from Drillbur. This is going to take the number 2 spot as a non-mega ground type attacker in the game, and it's honestly not that far off from Shadow Garchomp. Like, they're pretty much like right there on point with each other. Of course, with that being said, Shadow Garchomp is going to be the better option, but Shadow Excadrill is not really going to be a bad pick, and I'm kind of thinking it might have some play in the Master League, because regular Excadrill has some play in the Master League, so we'll have to see how that plays out. Excadrill did get access to a new moveset this past season, Scorching Sands, and that's kind of helped it propel up into the ground type meta a little bit more, opposed to when it just had access to Drill Run. Now we do have another ground type attacker to talk about, but this is also a rock type attacker as well, so we'll start off with its ground type relevance, and that is going to be for Shadow Rhyhorn, which evolves into Shadow Rhyperior. So compared to Excadrill, it would just be better to focus on that or the Shadow Garchomp in my opinion. Like, Shadow Rhyperior is not going to be, I guess, like, if you had the choice to pick between the other two, I would just go with the other two. Like, it's still more powerful than like a regular Garchomp by comparison, but again, like, if you're going to invest resources into a Shadow, those two just make more sense. Now when it comes down to Rhyperior as a rock type attacker with its signature move Rock Wrecker, this was a Calm Day exclusive moveset, so you're going to have to use an Elite TM if you do want to get access to it. This Pokemon is actually on par with Mega Diancie and Mega Tyranitar. When I saw the stats for this, I almost didn't believe it, because I was like, how is a Shadow Pokemon this OP? Like, I knew it was going to be good, like, don't get me wrong, like, Rhyperior with Rock Wrecker was a staple as a rock type attacker for some time. Actually, it still kind of is. But the fact that Shadow Rhyperior is on par with the #1 rock type Pokemon in the game that are Mega Pokemon, that's crazy. So essentially your ideal team would look something like Mega Tyranitar or Mega Diancie, followed by 5 Shadow Rhyperior. That would be actually insane. Like, you pretty much have like a team of 6 Mega Tyranitar. Can you believe that? Like, I can't even believe that. That just blows my mind. So when it comes down to Rhyperior in the rock type meta, this is such a game changer. Like, this is seriously an insane meta breaker. I'm looking forward to that one. But I am not done yet, because Shadow Rampardos, which evolves from Craniados, is also hanging out at the top of the meta too. Again, like, Niantic gave us some bangers, like a ton of bangers for this Shadow release. And although this Pokemon is more of a glass cannon compared to Rhyperior, it has the best DPS in the game for rock types, so it's going to be crazy strong. So when it comes down to it, you really can't go wrong with either of these Pokemon. The barrier to entry on Rhyperior is a little bit higher because of Rock Breaker and kind of needing that Elite TM, so if you had like a bunch of Rampardos, that's not going to cost you any Elite TMs, but again, like, you're going to have to spend a lot of Stardust, so the Elite TM investment isn't the worst thing in the world. If you get like a Shadow 3-star IV, I feel like that one's good enough. That's kind of like my basis now when it comes down to powering up Shadows. As long as it's like a 3-star, I'm pretty much good with it. Even if it doesn't have 15 attack, like, that's okay given the rarity of some of these Shadows. Now we do have 2 more Shadows that are going to be getting added in. These are more PvP centric Pokemon. That's going to be Barboach and Shieldon. Barboach evolves into Whiscash and Shieldon evolves into Bastiodon. Both of these Pokemon in their normal forms do have really good play in the Great League. So when it comes down to it, because PvPoke hasn't updated their rankings just yet, I can't tell you how good they're going to be compared to their normal counterparts, but both of these Pokemon do have some pretty good potential, so be on the lookout for some PvP IV spreads for both of these Shadows. I am personally super stoked on a lot of these new Shadow Pokemon. For example, I gotta hunt Chandelure now, Excadrill, Rhyperior, Rampardos. That's like 4 new Shadows right there. Possibly even Bastiodon as well, because I use Bastiodon a lot in the Great League, and having the Shadow counterpart, I mean, if it ends up being really good in the meta, I may want to build a second Bastiodon. That being said though, I would love to hear what you guys are thinking about some of these Shadow Pokemon. If there's anything that caught your eye or anything you're going to be focusing on moving forward, let me know in the comment section down below. Now following that, we are also going to be getting a new rotation of Team Go Rocket leader Pokemon, and I'm pretty stoked about this as well because the past rotation was kind of mid. Like, none of the Shadow Shinies that were available were actually worth hunting. Like, what did we have? We had Aerodactyl, we had Geodude, I think we had something else, but again, it's so forgettable that I really just can't remember. But again, like, the Shadow Shinies, none of them were really that meta relevant, so yeah, kind of whatever about it. I'm hoping that we get some pretty cool ones. If you guys have any thoughts or predictions on what that may be, again, let me know in the comment section down below. Next up, let's talk about the Shadow raids. So we're going to have 1-star and 3-star raids. In 1-star raids, you're going to have access to Ghastly, Grimer, Mischievous, and Litwick. Grimer can be potentially shiny, so if you want to go for that Shadow shiny, that's definitely going to be the best way to do it. I don't believe the odds are going to be that great, so I mean, like, Shadow Grimer isn't used for anything, not to my knowledge, so don't worry about it too much. Litwick is going to be good though, right? Like we just talked about Shadow Chandelure earlier on in this video, and yeah, if you want to farm some good IVs from those 1-star raids, definitely going to be worth doing some raids there. And again, like, you still have the 60 raids that you got to do for that Master Ball research, I'm assuming. I mean, most of you probably still have those left over. I still got a few I got to do. And yeah, they may be going towards Shadow Litwick. Probably not, but if you just want to use that freebie pass and you got a Shadow Litwick, definitely worth doing. Now, as far as 3-star raids go, we're going to have access to Nidorina, Nidorino, and Golbat. Nidorina and Golbat are actually pretty good in the Great League, but the IVs that you're going to get from the raid battles are not going to be low enough for the attack stat, at least comparatively to the Team Go Rocket grunts, because you could get like a 0 IV attack spread. I believe from raids it's going to be capped at 6, so yeah, nothing really worth farming, and you can't get any Shadow Shinies from this tier as well, so in my opinion, just worth skipping all around. And then when it comes down to 5-star raids, we're going to have access to Shadow Lugia specifically for this weekend only on October 28th to October 29th, 10 AM to 8 PM your local time. This is going to be the debut of Shadow Shiny Lugia in Pokemon Go, but it's only going to be here for 2 days, so the odds of getting that shiny are fairly low, not to mention, like, non-Shadow Lugia is a very difficult raid boss to take down, and so factoring in the Shadow difficulty on top of that, yeah, I'm not really confident that a lot of players are going to be able to get the Shadow Lugia raids done, but if you can get a group together, then I highly do recommend, you know, maybe going out and raiding for this, because I think if you can get at least a 13-13-13 spread, you could also purify that for the Hundo Lugia, and that can be used in the Master League, which is pretty cool. You know, I kind of like that aspect of doing Shadow Legendary raids, is that even if you don't get anything good in terms of IVs, like, at least if you get that minimum spread, you can get a Purified Hundo, which I know in the past we talked about Purified Hundos, it's usually not worth going for them, but in certain situations, I will say that it is actually worth it, at least when the scarcity is kind of not a big factor. Now, what's kind of cool though about this event is that we're actually getting access to 2 new Shadow Legendaries. I mean, I guess I should say like 1 new Shadow Shiny Legendary and just 1 Shadow Legendary, because we have had Shadow Lugia before. But when it comes down to the special research, you're going to get access to Shadow Regigigas for the first time, and this special research is going to be available until December September 1st at 10 a.m. your local time. Now, honestly speaking, guys, I don't see this Pokemon being good for anything. Please feel free to prove me wrong in the comment section down below, but its regular counterpart is not used for anything currently, so I would highly recommend just stacking your Super Rocket Radar for the next Shadow Legendary, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Shadow Regigigas is just not going to be worth it. Now, I get this question asked so many times on my channel, so I'm going to go over the new method as well as the old method for stacking your Super Rocket Radar. So in order to use the new method, all you have to do is stay on page 1 of your special research, don't make any progress at all, and then when the next rotation comes in, you're going to automatically unlock the new one without actually having to complete the old one. You can do this as many times as you want as well, as long as you stay on page 1 of each special research. I've rolled forward like the past 3 special research, and I'm going to be doing it again for Shadow Regigigas. Again, if you guys have any additional questions, just let me know in the comment section down below. But if you're watching this video and you've already gone past page 1 of your special research, you can still use the old method, but this only works for 1 rollover. So essentially what you want to do here is you want to complete all the way up to the second to last page where you have to beat Giovanni. Then at this point, just wait on that page until the next special research quest is released. Once that new Shadow Legendary enters into the rotation, use your Super Rocket Radar and complete the quest. Now at this point, you're going to unlock the new special research, and then you can start using the new method by staying on that first page. You can also go ahead and complete it if you want to actually get the Shadow Legendary, or maybe 2 of that Shadow Legendary. It's totally up to you. But I guess in this case, you know, you would want to obviously stay on page 1. And then there is actually a bonus tip that I want to go over. So the best way to tell what Shadow Legendary you're going to end up getting from Giovanni is based on his final Pokemon. This is kind of a common complaint that I see very often, so I just feel like I have to mention this because if you end up going in and, for example, what is in rotation right now? We have Shadow Regirock. So if you go in and you see a Shadow Regirock, just know that you're not going to get a Shadow Regigigas. It has to be Shadow Regigigas in his lineup. As always, though, if you guys have any additional questions, just let me know in the comment section down below, but that's pretty much going to do it for this video. If you're still looking for some more content, I'm going to recommend these 2 videos right here. But before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.